Are you ready?
Yep.
Alright. So, imagine you're playing Minecraft and it's just kind of a peaceful day and everything is going okay. Which, I mean, is good, but it's kind of boring. You know, you go down to the caves and it just looks like this, you know. It's kind of boring, but, you know, it gets the job done. It's the game. Now, instead, imagine you go into the caves and it looks like this. It's scary. There's, like, vines everywhere that are poisonous. You know, there's lava, stalactites coming out of the ground. So that was basically my Minecraft mod that I made for my senior project that unfortunately I never actually presented because of COVID. So I thought I would like kind of share that with you guys and also try to explain to you like how modding works and like how programming works as well. So I'll just start by like showing you off some of the things I have in the mods. So here's like all the items. You know, we have some tools, some armor, and also like, you know, wood. That's pretty important. So in the next I'm going to show you some of like the surface. A lot of my mod was focused on generation, so you'll see, you know, my failed surface generation. But the big emphasis and what I really got like done good was the caves. As you can see here, I'm pretty happy with how they turned out. So that is actually the full extent of the mod. There's really not much to it besides just me messing around, trying new things, trying to understand how to actually mod. So you might be wondering at this point, like, that looks really weird. How does that actually work? So it's actually a lot of programming. So here's actually some of the code behind the game. And this code is specifically generating the stalactites in the world. So you can see here the stalactites are placed in the bottom of the caves and the top of the caves. And a lot of people think programming is just like, they look at this and they just think, oh my god, it's just a bunch of words and stuff, and they don't really understand it. But I'm going to try to like explain to you how programming is a lot of logic. So let's say we wanted to generate stalactites. So there are certain criteria we'd have to meet, such as how frequently we'd want the stalactites placed in the world, where they would generate, which obviously that would be caves, and what direction would they face. So the direction they face is depending on, like, if they're going to be, let's say we're placing a stalactite at the base of the cave, we want the stalactite facing up. If it's placing at the roof of the cave, we want the stalactite placing down. So the way the code works is that you pick a random spot in the world and we have to determine if that's a cave or not. So that's kind of, yeah, assuming we pick a random spot in the world, how do we determine if that's a cave? It's actually pretty simple. Here's a side view of a world, and you can see that there's no really air pockets anywhere else besides a cave. I mean, there is like the overworld, but we can you know, rule that out in our programming. So if we pick a random block and it happens to be air, we can be almost 100% confident it's a cave because yeah, it's air. So what we then do is once we find a random air block, we want to find the roof or the base of the cave. So we're going to go up, we're going to go all the way up until we find the roof of the cave, and then we're going to say, hey, this is for sure a cave. I know that. So then you're going to go down and you're going to finally place that stalactite in the world. It's kind of hard to see because it blends in, but there's a stalactite there. So yeah, that's how like the code works, and it seems complicated, but I'll actually explain it to you. This does look kind of complicated, but it's pretty simple. It starts out by saying, is the block air? If it isn't, we're not going to try to place a stalactite. And then picks a random direction, up or down, to find the roof or the base of the cave. Then here's the code that actually like increments to find the roof of the cave. You can see, so this line of code here, this like block here, is the code that goes up to find the roof of the cave. It also goes down to find the base, but like it's a coin toss for that because, you know, we want to place stalactites both up and down, and yeah. So once it like finds the base or the roof of the cave, it then basically says, is that my block I want to place stalactite on? If it isn't, then we're gonna not place the stalactite there. But if it is, we're gonna go ahead and place that. So that leads me to the last part of the code, which is also pretty simple, just placing it. This basically says if the stalactite is facing up, we want to place place the base. Then we want to place the middle. We want to place the top. If it's facing down, we want to place the base, the middle, and the top in like the reverse order. So there's like a problem with that. I actually changed that last code because it's kind of boring. You know, all stalactites just look like this. So I made it a little bit more complicated, which I didn't really show off in the, you know, here because it's a lot more complicated. But you can see it actually generates a little bit more interestingly. It has like 2 bases, 2 middles, and a top, and like it randomizes it. So anyway, that was like my my Minecraft mod that I really wanted to show you guys, and hopefully you sort of understand a little bit more about programming and how it's more logic based than just like random words on the screen. So yeah, unfortunately this mod really isn't going to go anywhere because, you know, it was an experimentation thing for my senior project, but yeah, just thanks for listening to it and watching the presentation.